That watch costs more than your car. I made $970,000 last year. How much you make? You see, pal, that's who I am, and you're nothing.
Bring the beat back hot, then.
Make it drop.
Just put your name on it. That's all I say. Be a man or a woman. Put your name on it.
The inches we need are everywhere around us. They're in every break of the game, every minute, every second.
Are you behind on your credit card bills? Good. Pick up the phone and start dialing. Is your landlord ready to evict you? Good. Pick up the phone and start dialing. Does your girlfriend think you're a fucking worthless loser? Good. Pick up the phone and start dialing. I want you to deal with your problems by becoming rich.
What's up, everybody? Thanks for joining us today. We have Shawn Kaplan. He's a mortgage originator for Legacy Mutual here in the Nashville, Tennessee area. Welcome, Shawn.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us, man. We appreciate you. Hey, so just give us a quick background for the people who don't know who you are. Just kind of get a little bit about you, who you are, and take it from there.
I'm just a mortgage guy, Shawn. Guy asked me this morning, he goes, what do you do for a living? I said, I sell money. You know, I tell people mortgages, they usually run away. I'm a husband, I'm a father. I've been married for about 12 years, got two little girls, 9 and 5. I live in Nolensville, Tennessee. I've been doing mortgages for about 19 years now. I manage the operations for Legacy Mutual Mortgage Brentwood. I also have an office in Murfreesboro. And we've specialized in single family, multifamily, 1 to 4 unit, mostly purchase oriented business from realtors and developers and past client database.
Awesome. So we always like to know, what was production for you last year? What did that look like in your world? And this podcast is designed to find people that are excelling in their relative fields of work and just absolutely crushing it. You and I had a quick discussion about your numbers last year, which were phenomenal. So you wouldn't mind sharing last year's numbers and what your goal for this year is?
Well, I appreciate you telling me it was phenomenal. It was my first year in 19 years. I actually took a small step backwards in production and income. We helped out 218 families for $56,272,000. About 24 million of that came from realtors, 13.8 million came from past clients, and the remaining came from business partners, which are financial planners, some of the attorneys in the area, and CPAs, and other various businesses that I farm and work my relationships.
Very cool. And what about what's your target for this year?
So this year we want to our regular goal is set at 60 million. Our stretch goal is going to be set at 65 million. So for Middle Tennessee, that's an average purchase price about 258, 131, and it'll project us out. We need to do about 232 units, and right now we're ahead of the mark. Right now, January was a little bit rough. February was a little slow. March and April are speeding up, so we should end up probably right above 60 million this year.
That's awesome, man. Good for you guys.
So what does your team look like, boss? You have a team? Is it just you? What we got?
Here's what they look like right there. So I've got what's called 3 PAs. So we call them PAs. Those are called production associate 3s. They can qualify a loan, they can price a loan, they can run DU. They follow once I initiate the lead, they will fill out the app, run all the data, schedule the appointment. About 90% of my clients come into my office in Murfreesboro or Brentwood face-to-face. I either try to get them in face-to-face for the pre-qualification, pre-approval appointment, or the doc signing once they get go under contract. Those 3 PAs manage our leads monthly. We average about 123 leads a month that are completely 100% organic. None of it is purchased. And then I have a team captain who manages them on a daily basis. He's my yin to my yang. So I'm a DI on the disc test. He's an SC. So he's like our manager over the team. And then I have a processor. So 4 people total that help me in production, and then 1 in operations.
Nice. So what, you said you've been in it for 19 years. You know, what did year one look like versus now? I mean, tell me the come up, man. Tell me what got you. You look young, dude. How old are you?
I'll turn 41 next week, actually.
Nice.
So,
So drinking a lot of water. Looks good. Look good, Shawn.
Botox. Man, I was waiting tables at Demas's in Murfreesboro. So it was a good job on the weekends and the evenings. Demas's back in the day, I mean, they were known for, you could wait tables, make $40,000, $50,000 a year and go to college. I mean, they were always busy. And in year 2000, I was getting ready to graduate, and I was really frustrated because it was going to be a crappy job. And Miss Demas asked me, she goes, well, what are you going to do? And I said, I'm not sure. I think I might get into real estate. And she goes, let me introduce you to somebody. So she introduced me to John Floyd and Rob Koch. John Floyd's the owner of Old South Properties, and Rob Koch owned a mortgage company at the time, Middle Tennessee Mortgage. And Rob said, you should come see me next week. You ever thought about selling mortgage loans? I said, I don't know what that is, but I'll come check it out. And I went out the next week, and I've told Rob this, so no offense, it was a dumpy little mortgage company next to the Chinese restaurant. And I sat down, he showed me his tax return, and I said, that looks pretty good. I want to learn how to do that. And a couple of days later, I had a phone, a HUD handbook, and a stack of leads, and I was dialing for dollars. And closed my first deal, I think, in 2 or 3 weeks. It was a rate and term refi for a car dealer out in Hendersonville. And I got that check, and I was off and running. I was like, this is like waiting tables, but better. And I think my first year, I maybe did like 20 transactions. And progressively after that, I've gone up an average of 18% every year has been my run. And so the last couple of years, I'll just give you the last 5 years. 21.8 million, 29.5 million, 41.5 million, 56.0 million, and 63 million. And then we went backwards. We went back to 56 this most recent year.
So what the hell happened on, like, you made some jumps there, right?
Yeah.
29 to 4.
Yeah, number one, I got a coach. Number two, I built a team, hands down. Can't do it without ourselves. And I don't know about you guys, but I don't want to have to reinvent the wheel. I'm not that smart of a guy, but I'm a super hard worker. So if somebody's pile is bigger than mine and they're doing it, then I'll just do what you did. And so when I got in my coaching program in 2008, they put me around other people doing 50, 75, 100, 150 million dollars. And I was like, well, I'll just do what they're doing on a smaller scale. So I hired my first assistant. And that was 2008. And that was probably where a lot of the growth came from. I used to work for a home builder in Murfreesboro, and I had 14 subdivisions, and I was working about 80 hours a week. And I think I made $1.25, which was good money at that time. But my wife, who then was my fiance, said, if something doesn't change, I'm going to leave you. So the market corrected in 2008, and I went to work for a mortgage banker, and I had some time and some money in the bank. And I said, what do I want my business to look like? And I said, I want it to be a doctor-nurse program. I want people to chase me. I don't want to chase them. We're still chasing people, but it's just different than having to serve a captive audience, an in-house lender. So that was the big change, was the leverage and hiring a coach.
Did you, first off, do you still have the same coach? Have you grown out of that coach? And then second of all, you know, getting people to chase you, how do you do that? You know, what's your process?
So I've got the same coach. The program that I'm in caters to realtors and lenders. They have certain protocol on income and production wise. So that was good for me because I don't know about you guys, but you can get into a lot of coaching programs and you end up getting advice from somebody who either doesn't do it or they do less than you. So they'll start you out with a coach. If I was doing 20 million, they'll put me with somebody that did 40 million. Then when I went to 40, 50 million, they'll take you to somebody with 60, 70 million. Like my coach right now, she'll do 200 million. I think she'll W2 4 million, 3.75 or something. So I know that whatever she's doing works for me. My coach last semester, he's got a branch with about 14 loan officers. I think he made 4 or 5 million. He did 400 or 500 transactions. So you're learning from people that actually are there. So I can't really outgrow the program unless I end up doing more than them.
That's fantastic.
What's that?
Who is the company? I mean, I like
It's
that.
called, it's the Core Training Incorporated, the Core. And so they do 2 summits a year for realtors. I think you have to be 10 million or above for a realtor. And I think they're around $5,000, and they do them twice. And you're around 400 or 500 of the biggest, best realtors. And you walk away with a tactic book like this, and they give away every single secret and tabs, every coach. And I mean, so you walk away with something that makes you 3 times as much money from just going to the event. And that's how I got hooked. And I bogarted the system for about 2 years by listening to the CDs and stuff like that. And then after about 2 years, I took the leap in because it's $3,000 a month, but they guarantee your results or else they'll refund it to you.
Wow.
And the growth, obviously it works if you just do what they say.
It's bold, man.
And so their business philosophy around getting people to come to you instead of you always chasing, they want you to call on realtors. They want you to call on business people and call your clients and ask for leads. But the thing is it's all about how much value you're providing to the marketplace, whether it be coaching, whether it be showing your realtors how to produce more leads, whether it be systems, whether it be showing realtors how to hire teams, what to look for, whether it's your video and social media production. They want you to have something that attracts realtors to say, that guy's different than most lenders. I want to go work with him. And then with clients, they teach you something called the challenger sale. And in my opinion, a loan officer, you're either the guy with the headset on selling rates and fees, which are important, or you're the guy that's bold enough to stand up to a client and say, hey, you're putting down $80,000. Can you just listen to something for a second? Why don't we put 40 down, pay off the 2 cars and the credit card, and reduce your outgoing expenses by $950 a month? Now you got a brand new home, bigger and better, and you're paying less than what you are in your current situation in a smaller home with all the debt. And then you wake up every day and you have a new house and no debt. So they teach you the challenger sale. And I've got tons of clients that come back to me before they call the realtors because they say, I want to sit down, I want to plan, I want to figure out if we're doing this the right way. Then we'll engage a realtor. And just being honest, that's where you want to be as a lender. And so I'm doubling down on all of that right now. I've hired a social media digital marketing company. I hired a mailing company, and then I hired an event specialist and an admin just to help out with my events. And I'm going to double down on that because last 3 years I've done it and it's worked out. So, and I think that's where the market's going to get away from these internet guys.
Touch base on the events that you do. I know you do client appreciation events. Will you hit on that for us?
Yeah, so I do 4 client appreciation events a year. I spend around $3,000 give or take on each one of those. So my budget's about $12,000 a year for that. And I do 4 VIP events. So for the previous quarter, anybody that referred a deal or closed a deal with me, realtors, business partners, I throw a big bash. I've got one that's actually coming up this weekend. It's at my farm in Nolensville. And I just made it a big birthday party, but it's a huge bonfire. I've got a Mexican restaurant catering it. We got a band. We got a bartender. There'll probably be about 200 people there. And I'll probably put about $4,000 into that party, But I believe that people want to work with and refer folks that they know, like, and trust. I mean, that's a pretty basic concept. And I think if people like what I like and I hang out with them belly to belly, I believe that as long as you say, hey, I want your referrals, they'll go out there and they'll work for you, especially if they had a great experience. And so that's my philosophy. It's pretty basic.
I know in the short time that I've known you, like your attention to your clients and your dedication to your clients definitely shows. And just the way you carry yourself, the way that you interact with them, the way you work with them, you're not out there trying to hustle realtors all day long to get them to give you business. You're just out there building genuine relationships. That's not something you see all the time. So, man, I appreciate that. To kind of piggyback off of that, so I know just based on your social media, last year you set a goal, and if you didn't achieve your goal, the result was you had to part ways with that beauty. So that just shows true dedication to your craft and to what you're doing. For those of you that don't know Shawn Kaplan on social media, the guy set a goal. If he didn't achieve it, he had to sell his gorgeous Mercedes-Benz. And it's up for sale. He didn't hit his numbers, and he stuck true to it. I see it posted all the time. I look at my bank account, and I realize I can't afford it, so I just move on. but he's out there doing it, and I appreciate that so much. It just shows true character.
Man, I appreciate that. I think that we're all motivated by either pain or pleasure, and I think the first step is realizing that truth. And truth is like poetry. You know, most people don't like poetry. So get addicted to the truth. The first of the fact is I didn't hit my goal last year because I didn't do my work. It wasn't anybody else's fault. It wasn't the damn market. It wasn't my company. It was because I didn't see enough people and make enough phone calls. And so our program has rewards and punishments. And I had said last year, if I didn't hit my goal, I would sell my dream car that I bought. I used to see Bob Parks drive around in his beautiful S550 AMG all the time. And so I was like, I'm going to buy one. And I bought one. And then I said, I'm going to crush my goal last year. And I didn't. So January 1, it had to go up on the market. And now, if I don't have it sold every week, I have to knock it down $5,000. So it's not going so well.
So pretty soon, Mike, you might have a chance to get that. Keep an eye on it. Shawn, another question that I like to ask whenever we have high-producing individuals such as yourself on our very popular podcast that we have here is, what is a typical day for Shawn K? Like, what's it looking like from the time that you wake up, you know, rise and shine, get on your grind? Walk us through, like, the perfect day and how you're doing it.
So left to my own devices, Shawn Kaplan is a troublemaker. Shawn Kaplan's a slacker. And so my calendar has very, very little blank spots in it. All three of my employees have access and my team captain. So it's getting filled up constantly all day long. My team captain makes sure that he looks at a forward week in a glance. And if there are any blank spots in there, he fills it with power hours, schedule a lunch, things like that. I get up at 4:30 on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I go work out with a trainer. I call it a coach. I think we should have a coach around our health, around our marriage, around our money, around our business, entrepreneurialism, and around our specific industry. I think everyone should have 5 coaches. So I go and I work out, and that's just to keep from getting old. And so then I get home about 6 o'clock. I do a little bit of reading, do a couple of social media posts. 7 o'clock, I get my girls up. I spend breakfast with them. Every Wednesday we have breakfast together. So I have reoccurring things in there that are without fail. And then I come into the office about 8 o'clock. I try to sit in the parking lot and make 10 phone calls before I come in the office. That's always my goal. And a lot of people will say, well, don't call people before 8 o'clock. Well, I have the opposite mentality. I believe the realtors that answer their phone before 8 o'clock are the hustlers. They're the business people. So I start my day every day at 8 o'clock. I try to start it out with a coffee or a meeting. Then we have a pipeline meeting, a team meeting at 8:45 every day. I've started delegating that away, so I'm not in it every day. But they go over all old leads from before, new leads, and then loan applications, new contracts every day for about 15 minutes. And then we have a theme every single day. And whether you're a realtor or lender, I think that every day you should have at least 1 hour of outbound phone calls. So Mondays, we're supposed to call realtors. I'm sorry, but I don't do a good job. But every Monday, we're supposed to call realtors. Every Tuesday, we call every single client in process. So for 3 hours, I've been calling every husband, wife, listing agent, buying agent on every deal in process. And that takes about 3 hours because I've got about 45 deals in the pipeline right now. And then I try to have a lunch every day. Then I'll come back. And then I usually will end up going into afternoon appointments, usually 2 or 3 pre-apps or doc signings. And then my calendar right now, because I want my marriage and my relationship with my kids to be number one, and being transparent needs a little work right now. 5 o'clock says drive home. So when people are like, hey, I need to meet with you at 5:30, I'm like, sorry, I already have a prior appointment. Could you come in at 4:30? I'll stay a half an hour late if you can leave work a half an hour early and get some buy-in with them. And that's pretty much what my days look like, with the exception of some events or traveling. I'm trying to get to the point that my Murfreesboro office would be like certain days of the week. I don't have that figured out yet, but the key is having fixtures in your calendar reoccurring that don't go away and are non-negotiable.
Let me ask you, what's fueling Shawn Kaplan every day? what's the motivation? What's the grind look like in terms of what are you trying to accomplish? What's getting you out there to make you want to do those things?
Man, that's a huge question. It's an emotional question. Again, being ultra transparent. When I got into business, it was just about money. It was about survival. It was about doing something for my mom. My dad took his own life when I was 6 years old, and then my sister was only 6 months old. And so when we had to grow up with a single mom, we didn't have a lot, but I never really knew it. But when I got in the mortgage industry and got the taste of money, I didn't have a firm foundation in my faith, and it was about conquering. It was about making as much money, spending as much, and showing the world that I'm good enough, and I'll never be abandoned again. So I know that's kind of deep, but the progression happened once I started realizing what my calling was on my life and where I'd been put versus being in a pulpit or missionary or whatever. This was my calling. I had a massive, massive ability to change people's lives. And that's why the Challenger sale is easy for me now, because not only do I know it works, I've done it myself. I had $150,000 in debt. The most anybody's ever made out of my 40 family members and cousins is probably 75 grand a year. And, I followed that advice, paid off all that debt, and now it's my job to pay it back to somebody else. Mm-hmm. So what drives me now is what I call my 5-year vision. I rewrite it every year. And it's a paragraph written first person, and it says it's December 2022, and I'm blessed beyond words can describe. My daughter's 13, my younger daughter, and it literally is what will happen in 2022. And I want to try to do this 5 more years. That should give me the appropriate amount of cash in the bank to throw off an income. And then what I want to do is buy a 100-door apartment or a couple of units, have good positive cash flow of $300, $400 a year. And me and my wife are going to build on the 17 acres we own in Nolensville. And we want to put a barn down back, and we want to take people in. We want to provide them a place to stay. We want to take in missionaries. We want to take in people that are beat up and bruised and just host them. And so that's what's driving me right now, to help as many people as I can here at work. So in turn, I can hopefully help as many people as I can in 5 years from now. And I keep these things in front of me. They're on my mirror in my bathroom. I had this laminated. It used to be in the shower. My wife said that was kind of weird. I got one in my car, and I got one that sits in my office, and it reminds me. And so that's my why, man.
Yeah, it's deep.
That is awesome, though. That's great stuff.
Do you do that every 5, or do you do that every year, or was that the 5 year? When was that?
Yeah. I revise it the first of every year, because it changes. And what's crazy, guys, is like I wrote this, started doing this 5 years ago, and after 3 years, some of it was coming to fruition, production-wise, income-wise, team-wise, how much we were giving away. I mean, I put a goal down to give away $100,000 5 years ago, and I think 3 years into it, we almost reached it. It's like, if you write it down, there is power in it, and if you reread it on a regular basis.
How often do you read it? I mean, do you read it daily? Do you make it a point to do it daily?
He had it in the shower, Chris.
Oh, yeah, that's
right. Probably every 2
I don't take showers every day, so I don't know.
Yeah, No, I mean, I'll usually read it every 2 weeks.
I got you.
Yep, but I also recommend people do a meeting with yourself once a month. I don't think people get quietness, solitude, and privacy. And so something I've recently started doing is once a month going away and filling out this form, and it's called the agenda, my one-on-one meeting. And all I do is once a month, I'm trying to sit down and say, am I on track here today? What's working? What's not working? What should I keep doing? What should I stop doing? Who's my targets? New targets? And I think that's when I revisit that, and I'll look at it and say, am I on track or not on track? It's just like stepping on the scale at the gym, right? And I think most of us set a goal in January. We don't look at it after 3 weeks, and then we look up January the next year, and we're like, oh yeah, those goals. So.
Shawn came in here serious, man. He even had the blueprints for the farm for 10 years from now.
He's keeping it real AF.
Yeah.
Man, my coach ripped me one time. We were in front of a group of people, and I think it was a couple hundred people. And he's like, what's your year-to-date production? I was like, and he's like, how many units? And he's like, you're a businessman. He's like, how do you not know what your numbers are? You think you asked Jeff Bezos what his annual, year-to-date revenue is, and he doesn't know? And so I started getting really serious. I was like, to be a businessman, I got to know my numbers. So I boiled it all the way down to, I want to know what the conversion rate is. I want to know how many people I got to talk to in a week to get the number of leads that I need. And you got to get really granular on it if you really want to run a big business.
Right. That's great. I love it. Will you send me that form, or is that hush for the program, the ask about your agenda form?
No, I'll send you the agenda, my one-on-one meeting. I'll scan it and send it to you guys. It's very basic.
Awesome. I appreciate that. Was it hard for you as a Heidi, and for people that don't know, Heidis are kind of big picture normally, right? So was it hard for you to get in that mindset of doing that daily and, knowing those numbers? And I mean, because that's more of an S or C, right? I mean, or S. So, how did you force yourself into that? Was it just I'm tired of getting called out by the coach, or, yeah?
No, it was hiring AC, my team captain. You want to find that person that does enjoy that. Like, he loves it. Opening up an Excel spreadsheet, I mean, literally I cringe. So he's been really, really good at just tracking, looking at our production, our lead goals and everything. And he gets geeked up about it. So find you that assistant or that contractor close or that team partner that's their skill set, because it's probably one of the most valuable things you could ever do. He sends an email at the end of the day in relation to where we're at for the month. So I have to, in order to do help 25 families a month, we have to have about 32 apps a month. So every day we get to see where we're at. Like today we're -5. So we've apped 37 deals so far this month. So we beat our goal. But what's cool is, like, I'll be at the 15th of the month, and I rather know that I'm not going to hit my lead goal by the 15th of the month than to wait until that last week of the month when you really can't do anything, right? Mm-hmm. And that was my frustration. I'd be like, why can't we do 100 leads a month? What's the problem? Well, when I started counting, that thing started gradually moving up just a little bit. Same thing as stepping on the scale. Man, I want to lose 10 pounds. Well, how about 1 pound? Let's just lose 1 today. But most people just don't know their numbers, unfortunately.
Well, I couldn't get it out. I was going to say, what was it like working with Seth Rogen in Pineapple Express?
I haven't gotten that one before. That's a new one. That's a new one.
And I had to.
Oh, man.
We only ask the important questions here.
Yeah. Welcome to reaAF, Shawn, where we compare you to people in Pineapple Express.
So, are you a reader? You read?
Man, only if it's got pictures and it's about 75 pages or less. I'm trying to do the podcast, trying to listen to a lot of YouTube videos in my car, but man, I've got the best collection of books that nobody's ever read.
Gotcha.
I mean, it's beautiful.
That's a good answer.
And I'll give them away too. I'll be like, man, you really need to read this book. Don't tell anybody.
Go ahead, check it out. Check it out. Mint condition.
Let me autograph it for you.
I can tell you there's a couple of books I have read. Our company book is Raving Fans. It's simple 3 rules. Always ask questions. Find out what your client wants. Number 2, know clearly what you want. And number 3, deliver +1. It's simple. And I think most of us don't stop to really find out, what does our client, or in my case, what does my realtor want? What does my builder want? Instead, we're trying to just sell them right out of the gate with whatever we want. And then the other thing, number 2, is basically a variation of everybody's not our client. You know, I got some realtors, they want the 24/7 guy, and I'd love to be that, but I'm not going to end up in a divorce and 50% less sexy with half of my assets in 5 years from now, right? And so I've got to figure out how to run a business where you still have access, but I'm also know who my client is. Mm-hmm. It's like the guy who wants to call 5 lenders and get 5 good faith estimates. It's like, that's okay. It's not his fault. It's just, that's not my model. And so I ask him to come sit down with me. And if he doesn't want to sit down with me or provide any info, it's okay to say, I don't think I'm the right fit for you. More leads will solve all problems. Always. So if I got 125 people saying they're interested in a mortgage loan per month, I'm pretty sure I can find 30 that, are willing to do it, the way that we want to.
Right.
More leads will solve all problems.
Whenever you first started out, Shawn, whenever you didn't have like your sphere of influence or your past clients and all that mess, how were you actually generating the leads that, how did you actually get the people that you actually grew to be with? Like what was your lead generation tactic that you started doing?
So year 2000, I went to work for Rob, and Rob was always the guy in town that worked with realtors and builders. And he told me, he said, Shawn, if you build a business around realtors and your past clients, you'll never go hungry. So I never really dove into the refi or lead wagon. Now he did provide me with some leads that were like picking cherries, because they were, people at 7, 8, 9% that needed to go to, at that time, rates were 5 and 6%.
Right.
So I'd run in there was 4 or 5 loan officers in that office, and I would run in at like 5:30 a.m. and go back to the fax machine. And at that time, that's when all the fax paper would roll up. And I'd go back there and I'd pick out the good ones, and then I'd roll them all back up and stick all the bad ones back in there. And then I'd go call them. And it was just like Miss Demas taught me, that if you did a good job, all you had to do was say, hey, by the way, would you help me out? Sure. Well, you had a good experience, right? Yeah. Well, would you mind? Could you tell some other people about me? Somebody's going to talk about this new house you're buying or the refinance and all the money you just saved. And so I just started doing that over and over. And then Rob would make us fill out thank you cards, handwritten thank you cards, and put 3 cards in there every time. And man, I would just do that religiously with everybody. I mean, I'd go through 250 thank you cards a month. I'd go through a box of business cards a month. And before long, man, I was getting 5, 10 referrals every single month, and I had a high closing rate. And as it progressed, I was taught, back in the day, there was something called by referral only. And Joe Stump used to teach, you sent out an ugly yellow postcard to everybody's house about how you helped someone the previous month. So I would take where I helped a lady going through a divorce, get him off the mortgage and get the house into her name, and tell a story without telling her specific details. Or the next month, I would tell a story about how somebody bought their first investment property. And what that does is that triggers the reticular activator in people's minds, that when they're standing around the water cooler and someone says, man, we're trying to buy an investment property and this mortgage lender is an idiot, they're like, dude, you got to call my guy. Actually, I'll bring the card in. He just mailed me yesterday. And that's the old Bed Bath & Beyond philosophy. That's why they mail out that blue card, that blue coupon every month.
Right.
Because you might not buy a mattress, but every 2 years, they said the average that an individual spends in their store is $175, and that postcard only cost them about $6 for 2 years. So I just started copying that. And so now I mail my database twice a month. They get a postcard every month. So they'll get an example EOS jumbo postcard, talks about how we help someone. And then I write a personal letter, just personal thoughts of something going on in my family or in my life, put a few pictures. And so this is the heart, and this is the gut or the mind. So you want to hit people both ways, because I'm a gut heart person. If I like you and I trust you, I don't really care what your price is. I'm going to probably go with it.
Right.
And then you got people that want facts. They want figures. They need to know how to fix a solution. And so this goes out to 1,200. This goes out to 1,200 every month. So about 2,400 every month.
Nice.
What's one thing that 2019 Shawn Kaplan would tell your 2000 Shawn Kaplan? What's experience, something that you've learned in your 19 years that you wish your 2000 would have known?
Man, I wish I would have hired my coach sooner, because if I could have created leverage and delegation and a great team like I've got now, man, back in the 2000s, I could have done probably 200 million. So hire a coach, hire somebody that makes you do uncomfortable things when you don't want to do them, and hire somebody who has a track record of producing the way that you want to produce. Not one of these talking head motivational coaches that's never sold real estate. It doesn't work. Right. And number 2, I would say, man, that's a giant question. Number 2, I would say, I would have doubled down on my marketing and my media faster and sooner. Like realtors should be doubling down on their social media video presence right now, because how many realtors hate being on video?
All of them.
Pretty much a majority of them.
Yeah.
So if you can get used to being on video and do it in a halfway decent way and bring in some value, that's the next best thing in front of getting people face to face. And I think it's a competitive advantage right now, because I don't see a lot of realtors putting out good quality content like you guys are.
Right. And it's cheap if you're doing Facebook boosting right now too, before like the Anheuser-Busches and the big players start jacking the prices up when they get involved. So
yeah,
it's our time.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
What's your favorite quote?
Diligence and consistency will always outpace talent. I mean, you probably will come up with a better idea than me by the end of the business day. But I'll tell you what, I get more done than almost everybody I know by 8 o'clock in the morning, 9 o'clock in the morning. It's about efficiency. It's not about staying busy. I mean, Jesus, we just need to start with answering the damn phone and emptying out our voicemail boxes. It's an epidemic right now. People are afraid to pick up a phone, and people need to realize that when somebody's calling a realtor, when you're a realtor and somebody's calling your phone, they're literally trying to give you thousands and thousands of dollars. It blows my mind. People, like, I'll dish out referrals. I'll give away one of my secrets. I will never leave a voicemail for a realtor saying I got you a referral. How many do you think I have to call to get them to answer the phone most of the time?
All of them.
And when my referrals come across, it's usually, hey, the Rileys just came into the office, just met with me. She's pre-approved up to $300,000. She's got 3.5% down and her closing cost. I'm going to email you the approval letter and the all about you form, so you know everything about their family, their kids, where they went to college. They're expecting your phone call. That's an effing referral.
Yeah.
Not this shit where it's like, hey, here's a number, call this person. Like, but we've got to start understanding to operate and get what we want. We've got to start doing things that we've never done. And man, I'll tell you, this answering the phone and text me instead of calling me, it's insane.
Ooh, we hit a sweet spot on Shawn. Those Tennessee realtors need to start answering the damn phone.
I mean, and I'll tell you, like, I love my realtors, but sometimes I just don't understand what people do all day long. Because, like, I look at my calendar and then I'm like, you know, oh, I've been busy. Dude, it took you 5 hours to call me back. I mean, a guy just called me back about my land I want to sell in Nolensville, my 37 acres. It took him 2 weeks. I was like, he's like, are you still interested? I said, hell no. Like, what's going to happen when somebody's calling him to come look at the piece of land? Like, we've got to answer our phone and call people back.
No.
Sounds like a French move to me.
He's been busy. That's all I'm saying.
And he was just calling to get you on the podcast. You got the land.
So, all right. So moving forward, are you? What do you have? What are you going to be doing that you've not been doing? Like, what are you adding to the business? What are you adding to it to get you to that next level?
Man, I got a couple of things that I'm getting ready to say yes to, and every time we say yes, we're saying no to something else. Right. I made a hard push for builders last year. I'm going to be completely raw and open here. And I secured some really good builders last year. And nothing against the builders, but what I'm telling you right now is you guys with buyer's agents that come into those communities, unless that builder says you have to use this lender, which a lot of builders are not comfortable with, they just want to make a sale, preferred lender doesn't have a leg up. I mean, you're pretty much coming in at the back end of the transaction, trying to win somebody over that's already been pre-approved. The buyer's agent already has their lender relationships. And I devoted a lot of time and energy to that last year. And I think sometimes you just have to know when to hold them and when to fold them. So I don't know if it's anything new that I'm doing, but I said no to some of those builder accounts. And it was very tough to do. But at the end of the day, you look at the production. I'm going to revert that more into more hands-on with my database. So one thing I don't do real well is individually calling my database at least a couple of times a year and saying, here's your specific loan and here's some specific opportunities. Why are you not buying investment property? Hey, you've got a lot of rising equity in this property. Have you thought about putting it to work? I don't do a real good job of that. So that's my call to action right now.
We have a really great program that we use for that called the DTD2.
What's it called?
The DTD2 basically gives you 2 letters a week, and you call everybody in your database that has the letter that's assigned for that week so that you can touch your entire database in 13 weeks.
Oh, yeah, the alphabet system. Like do all A, Bs this week, C, Ds next week.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Might be helpful.
Yep. What are you guys seeing? Like, what do you think is a push that, lenders are maybe missing out on or should be going to this year?
I'll be real honest with you, Shawn. We normally ask the questions. You just flipped it on. We don't know.
Yeah. Look.
Well, I mean, I got collectively.
We're gonna ask the questions, Shawn.
I'll say this.
This isn't your show, Shawn.
What you just talked about is you have them come in, you have them sit down, you go over all that stuff. I know of only one other lender that I've talked to in the last 3 years that does that. And so, man, that's a huge piece of business that you're securing that much more by knowing your lender is that on it.
I'm a big football fan, and somebody told me a couple of years ago, they're like, do you think the Patriots want to play in Gillette, or do you think they want to go and play in, Chicago? And the reason why I brought that up, he's like, you want people to come to your home turf, realtors and lenders. Get them in your office. Let them see you're the real deal. Let them see your family and your accolades and things like that. And what I'm seeing is a major shift in the market over the last 12 to 24 months, especially with the millennials. They'll get their information at first on the web, but a majority of them are all saying now, hey, can I come sit down with you? And I thought that was kind of shocking, but there's more and more and more people. Women who went through divorce have trust issues. They want to come and sit down with you. People who have lost a spouse, people who have spouses on deployment. I'm seeing it over and over and over that they're like, hey, can I come sit down with you and get this all ironed out before I decide to do anything, which is interesting because a couple of years ago, it was nothing like that. I actually had to switch my business plan and start doing more phone calls or video conferences with people because the guy down the road was willing to give the answers without meeting them face to face. And now it's flipping, and I'm loving it because it's coming to fruition.
That's good to know. We actually just had heard a speaker a few months ago, and his whole spiel was, you're in a now society, right? Everybody wants instant gratification. So get your ass out there when you get that phone call from Zillow. And, if you're not the guy out there that will jump, then you're going to get screwed in this transition. So I'm glad to hear that, man. I'm tired of jumping.
Statistics, I don't want to hack it up, but I read a report where it's like the first realtor or the first lender that talks to the client or meets with the client, they get the sale like 90-something% of the time. Yeah. So if I was a realtor, now look, I wouldn't want to jump, but I would ask qualifying questions. Hey, do you know what your credit score is? Do you have a job? What ranges are you looking in? And once I asked a few qualifying questions, I'd probably go and do a 15-minute appointment with them, 30-minute to get a face-to-face, have them fill out an all about you. The other thing is what I'm seeing a migration towards is the showing specialist. So, hey, I can't run out and meet that buyer, but I got a showing specialist at $30,000 a year that I'll pay, $250 or $500 a transaction. They go out, they don't sell anything, they build the rapport, and then they'll usually then bring the people back into the office for a face-to-face later time, or the actual agent will be the one that will go out and show them once they're pre-approved and everything. And I know a couple of agents here locally that are doing that. It's working really, really well.
Nice. What else we got, boys? What's one question that we didn't ask that we should have asked?
Oh, man. Opportunity. Where's the opportunity right now? And the opportunities in the equity. We got to get our clients and consumers to follow the equity. A lot of these people are sitting on $50,000 and $100,000 of equity, and they think that it's a good thing. It's 0% passive income. It's earning them a 0% rate of return. You might as well take your $100,000 and go bury it in a concrete block in your backyard. It's actually losing money with inflation and taxes. Right. So we've got to start teaching America and our clients and take the authoritative position and say, hey, do you have other debt? Do you have your retirement built out? Do you want to own rental properties? Do you want to work forever or not? and start helping people and understanding the finances around it. But I think that starts with realtors putting more focus on the financial part and less on the sales part. Very few realtors in my career have ever said, hey, can I come down and get a crash course in financing? You know, here's a good example. First week of January, mortgage rates hit a high at 5.23 Fannie Mae average. In the first week of April, they hit 4.23. On a $300,000 home, that's $249 less per month. So in other words, first week of April, you could buy a $351,900 home when the same payment was on $300,000 in the first week of January. I think that's something consumers needed to know.
Sure.
You know, but getting them to listen to us and getting that message out there, I think, is the biggest opportunity right now. So that starts with just picking up the phone and having conversations with our past clients.
Who looks like we found the topic to our next podcast. Shawn, what are you doing next week, next Tuesday? You just signed yourself up. Appreciate it, Shawn.
Yeah.
Go ahead and book that, Mike.
I'll actually be down in San Antonio, Texas, Monday, Tuesday, all week, Monday through Saturday, with those 400 to 500 realtors and lenders. And if you guys want any of that info, I'll be glad to bring it back or be glad to share with you what these big dogs are doing. I mean, there's a lady in there. She's doing 300 million. There's a girl that'll do 800 transactions this year, just her and her team, and she had a baby last year. I mean, it's insane stuff. And these are all referred. It's no internet purchased business, period.
Right.
When you look at that, Shawn, I mean, do you get a little envious? I mean, me personally, like, I'll see people doing just insane numbers, and I'm like, you know, what the hell's the difference? Like, why not me? Do you get the same thing, or are you just past that and you're like, I'm doing me, I'm crushing?
No, man, there's an internal battle that happens all the time. You know, I want to be the biggest. I want to be the best. I want to make the most money, the most in production. I want to help the most families. And then I go back to that anchor that, you know, my father took his own life over work and money. And it's not everything. Keep it the main thing. Do Shawn, do my race. And I got a saying right next to the door when you walk out. It says, today I did my best is good enough. And I think comparison's a bad thief right now that we have going on in our industries. And most of us just need to run our race. But no, man, I struggle with it. I want to do that some days. And then there's other days I'm very critical and judgmental by nature, unfortunately. And I'll be like, yeah, but I wonder what their marriage is like. Or I wonder if they save any money, or they're in debt up to their eyeballs. And I think we just have to understand that, you know, find the way you like to do business. Find the way that you wake up in the morning, you're like, this is giving me life instead of taking life out of me. And, you know, what's important to you? For me right now, it's getting home to my girls, carrying no debt, building retirement, getting to that apartment complex. And if that's 200 families a year, or whether that's 600, you know, I'm going to run my best race each day.
Nice. I think we're going to end on that, right?
Yeah, we're out of time.
Out of time.
Guys,
Shawn,
thank you so much.
No,
Yeah,
thank you, man.
Thanks for being with us. We really appreciate all the information that you dropped. And man, there were so many good nuggets of information. I can't wait to share this with the world and let them all hear what you dropped. Leave us with one final thing, man, like one kind of ice the cake for us.
Mic drop.
Give us a gold nugget. Yeah, give us the mic drop on the way out.
Mic drop it out.
Okay, let me just give you my post today because this was a good one. So I'll go ahead and just share what I put up today. I think this is very, very true. And it just said, get uncomfortable, remove limiting patterns. Think about this. The only thing keeping you from accomplishing all of your goals and dreams is simply the story you're telling yourself. Divorce the damn story and marry the truth you need to tell yourself. Marry it every day, love it every day, grow close to it every day. You were meant to do big things in this world. You weren't meant to do what the guy down the road did. And it's okay to push the boundaries, and it's okay to be honest with people in a respectful way. There's 7 billion people on this planet. Some will, some won't. So what? There you go.
Oh, love it. Thanks for joining us, man. We really appreciate you taking time out of your day for us.
Thanks
Thank
a lot.
you, guys.
Thanks for keeping it real AF.